Welcome to your English class. Children, today we shall be doing the lesson In the Kingdom of Fools from your book Moments. In this chapter, children, we all will understand that how unpredictable and dangerous the foolish people can be. One should try and stay away from their company even if they provide temporary benefits. In this chapter, children, you will see that how the disciple of the Guru wants to stay back in the kingdom of fools despite his Guru's warning. If his Guru had not come back in the end to rescue him, he would have to pay for his temptations by the end of the lesson. Now, children, let us understand the summary of the lesson. There was a kingdom of fools where both the king and his ministers were idiots. In an attempt to be different from others, they foolishly took the decision to change night with day and vice versa. Hence, the people in this kingdom would do all their work like tilling the fields, running their businesses, everything at night, and all would sleep when the sun rose up. Those who disobeyed were threatened and dealt with punishment. So, everyone followed this foolish practice. One day, a guru and his disciple visited this kingdom and were surprised to find the whole kingdom asleep during the day. When night came, people began their routine activities. The two men had become very hungry by this time, so they went to a grocery shop. It was utterly surprising for them to see that everything had the same cost, a single doodoo. Initially, they both were very happy as they could buy all they wanted for a very nominal amount. However, the Guru, being a wise man, decided to leave the place and told his disciple that the behavior of the fools cannot be predicted and it was not safe to stay there for long. But the disciple decided to stay back and the Guru alone left the city. One day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house by making a hole in the wall. However, when he was leaving after the loot, the wall of the old house fell on his head and killed him instantly. The thief's brother complained to the king that the merchant was to be blamed for the death and should hence be punished. The foolish king assured him of justice and summoned the merchant. The king told the merchant that he would be punished for having murdered the man who burgled his house. The merchant was a wise man and escaped punishment by telling the king that the wall had been built in his father's time. So, the bricklayer who built such a weak wall was actually responsible for the thief's death and he should get the punishment. The bricklayer too very wisely evaded the punishment and put the blame on the dancing girl. He claimed that he got distracted by her jingling anklets when she went up and down the street on the day and the wall was being built by him. The dancing girl, in her turn, shifted the blame to the goldsmith. She said that she had to walk up and down the street many times because the goldsmith had delayed her order. Now, the goldsmith, he further defended himself by pleading that he could not complete the dancing girl's order in time because he had to first finish a rich merchant's order. The rich merchant, again, was the father of the same person on whom the blame was put earlier, that is, the merchant whose house had fallen. So, The rich merchant was summoned once again to the court. He pleaded once again for his innocence on the ground that the jewelry had been ordered by his father. But the foolish king told the merchant that he had inherited his father's sins the same way as he had inherited his property and wealth. Hence, even if his dead father was at fault, the merchant would have to be executed for the killing of the burglar. He would inherit his father's punishment as well. Now, a new stake was ordered by the king for the execution. However, moments before the killing, the minister observed that the merchant was too thin for the new stake. So, it was decided to find a person who would fit the stake. The disciple, who had gone fat after eating bananas, rice, wheat, and ghee for days and days together, was caught to be killed in place of the merchant. Now, the disciple pleaded that he was a sannyasi and had not done anything wrong. But the king's men did not listen to him. He was reminded of his guru, and while waiting for his death, he prayed to him in his heart for help. The guru had magical powers, and he saw everything in a vision. He arrived at once to save his disciple. First, he scolded the disciple and then whispered something into his ears. Then, admiring the king for his wisdom, the guru urged him to put him to death in place of his disciple. Now, the disciple at once understood the guru's move and insisted on being put to death earlier than the guru. This behavior of the guru and the disciple puzzled the king. He asked the guru to explain the reason behind the desire to get executed first. The guru asked the king to promise him that if he told him the reason, he would put him, that is, he would put the guru to death before the disciple. Now the king, he promised him, he assured him, and the guru, taking the king aside, told that the stake was the stake of the God of justice. It was new and no criminal had ever been put on it. Hence, whoever dies first will be reborn as the king, and the next person will be reborn as his minister. Now, this information put the king in deep thought. He discussed the matter with his minister, and they decided to go to the stake themselves. The minister told the executioners that the criminals to be punished would be sent at night. They should be killed one after the other without any mistake. At night, the king and the minister secretly went to the prison and set free the guru and his disciple. Then they disguised themselves as the two criminals and were executed as per their revised orders. When their bodies were taken down to be thrown into to the crows and the vultures, people, they panicked. They recognized the two bodies of that of the king and the minister. Everyone was confused. They all mourned that night and finally went to the guru and begged him and his disciple to be their king and the minister. The disciple agreed easily, but the guru agreed on the condition that they would be allowed to change the old laws. Then on, night and day began to be used in their normal way, and the price of all things no longer remained one dudu each. Thus, children, the story in the Kingdom of Fools is a folk tale, and it gives us two messages. The first message is that one should stay away from foolish people, else one is bound to suffer. And the second message is that in order to tackle foolish people, one should employ wisdom and not logic. The Guru does not argue or reason the innocence of his disciple. Rather, he flatters the king and manages to convince him that the new stake was lucky. He not only saves the life of his disciple but also rids the kingdom of foolish king and his silly minister. In addition to that, he himself becomes the next king and his disciple the next minister. For today, dear children, I hope all of you have understood the lesson well. Please go through the PDF text as well. In case of any doubts or queries, do post in the comment section of your Google Classroom. Stay safe. God bless you all.